gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here for two reasons. One, this is a very auspicious occasion of this wonderful book launch, and secondly, I get to see wonderful friends back again. There are some memories that I share with the author, Aizaz Chaudhry Saab, and I know him now for over a decade, and we came across working for the common purpose of defending the interests of this country. He was then the Foreign Secretary, and I was then at the GHQ, the Military Operations Directorate, and that is where we started to interact with each other. I absolutely knew that he was a wonderful diplomat, and he was a man who had everything about Pakistan at his heart, and but now I'm absolutely convinced that he is a great scholar as well. And thank you very much for giving me this book, which I received last week, and I went through it, and I'm absolutely convinced that I have had the opportunity, because since I've been in this business for a long time, I've had the opportunity to read many books, both several written by the Indians and by the authors from the West. Simply put, this was one of the best, most comprehensive, insightful, and a book which still leaves you with a lot of hope in a time of despair. And thank you for affording us this opportunity. That said, there are a few very important highlights that I drew out of this book. And that is the journey of India from 1922 to this day. It is a journey which started back then by V.D. Savarkar's Hindutva-based policy, which was rejected by many at that time. But now, it has taken a century for India to reach that unfortunate point where there is a Hindutva-based ideology which is pervasive in Indian political and social system. And unfortunately, in central India, and India which is north of India, is the India that controls the Indian strategic thought, is reeking with this ideology. That is not, I'm not discounting some great people who still live there. There's some wonderful men and women who might still be thinking of living like good neighbors and in peace, but their voices, their ideas, their ability is completely depleted at this moment. They're not visible in Indian discourse. Quaid-e-Azam and some others realized that it would become very difficult for Muslims to find their rightful place in a majoritarian, Hindu majoritarian India. And hence the struggle which led to creation of the two dominions, and one dominion in which we live, called Pakistan. And it was interesting to note that this experiment of dividing on communal basis was done in 1905 with Bengal for the first time, and there was a huge resistance which came from the Indian National Congress, and 6 years later that was reversed, and I think 1911 it was reversed, and again the same thing. And I get to share my feelings with you, which of course are also picked up from the writer. His concept of Akhand Bharat is not just RSS's concept. It is not M.S. Golwalkar's or Savarkar's or others' concept. It is a concept which has remained at the heart of the Indian leadership, may it be Mr. Nehru and Vallabhbhai Patel and others, because they thought after the British leave, they will establish an India a united India of their choosing. And that was quite evident that they were quite disturbed when Pakistan was coming into being. And three things were thrown at Pakistan right at the start. And that is not just the fractured past, that is the blood-soaked past. It was, when the two dominions came into being, it was literally converted into a partition, which it was not supposed to be. And it was completely blood-soaked. You can question that the blood spilt on that side was more or this side was more, but it was definitely blood-soaked. That was the first thing, that a huge lot of refugees, blood-soaked refugees, were thrown at Pakistan. Then was Kashmir. It was not Pakistan's doing, it was India's doing. And the first war began about a year after Pakistan's creation. And the idea was, there were talks, and I'm sure you guys know it, there were talks that Pakistan will fold under the weight of its own, it does not have any financial capacity, so it will fall under its own weight and will fall back into the Indian Union. Those were the ideas. And hence, the division of the assets. Assets were not given to Pakistan. Pakistan still survived. I'm saying this because those thoughts have never left them. There have been good people in there. They've been trying to see maybe India in a different light and see Pakistan in a different light. But at the core of their strategic thought process, this idea of a larger, bigger Akhand Bharat always stayed. And then the key question that it's not a question actually, now it is quite well known to people now. Is India really a hegemonic state? Its behavior with its neighbors, its deliberate efforts to fail a great concept, SARC. Now we don't even talk about it much. It was a great concept. And their deliberate efforts to fail that concept. All that leads to this clear understanding that India looks at itself in a different way. They don't look at SARC, they look at India. It is India, it is New Delhi which will shower some goodies or not, and SARC does not mean anything, and eventually it has really failed. Kashmir, it is central to the relationship between Pakistan and India. I am reminded of a conversation. Long time back I was in, with your permission sir, I was in Japan and we were having a dinner hosted by the Japanese Chief of Army Staff. This was 2000, post the earthquake in 2005. We were there and there was an Indian officer and there was this Pakistani officer. We were there and the Japanese army chief, he called both of us. We were on a dinner and he said, what is the problem between the two countries? I was young, I said there's basically one issue, main issue between the two countries, and it is Kashmir. And the Indian officer, I'm not going to name him, he rose to be a very senior officer. And he said, actually Kashmir is not an issue. And on that, the Japanese army chief made a very profound remark. He said the truth should not be hidden. It is an issue. It is a serious issue between the two countries. You can't run away from it. So it stays central to the problems between India and Pakistan. And India has chosen to do, not to resolve it. My own understanding over a period of time, that starting from the UN resolutions to this day, they have done everything and anything to shy away from it, to shun it, and now they have started saying that there are material changes in the situation, so UN resolutions are no more relevant. And it is regardless of the dispensation that is there. There have been times when we thought that they're interested to resolve it, but at the core of it, no. Unfortunately, they believe, and I've been part of the track too. I'm still with Indians. I'm still trying. We are still trying that some ways to peace must be crafted. Aizaz Sahab, myself, we are together in that effort. But there is no way that they look at Kashmir from the perspective of resolving it. And one of the reasons that we found out, at least I found out, is that it actually defeats their concept of Akhand Bharat, if it is resolved. We are not saying that it should be given to Pakistan, but it should be resolved in a manner that all four parties to the conflict, that is the Kashmiris at the heart of it, India, Pakistan, and the international community, agree with that kind of solution. They are not willing to go down that route. And I think that is one way or the other amply highlighted also. The story goes on, decades by decades. All diplomatic and political efforts have fallen short, and the narrative has been blame thy neighbor. That's the narrative that comes out from New Delhi, blame thy neighbor. But until the recent years, Modi's India has made it clear and the veil has fallen. No political and diplomatic effort will yield results of peaceful coexistence and good neighborly relations until there is a change of heart. And change of heart largely, because I still genuinely believe that peace-loving communities in Pakistan are much greater than they are in India, even today. It's not because of any weakness. I now believe that it is because of the large heartedness of the Pakistanis. They're still much bigger. But until there's a change of heart in Indian political and social system, and India walks the path of dispute resolution genuinely and starts treating other neighbors as sovereign equals, it is going to be a very difficult situation. A lot has been said by Khurram Dastagir Saab. I tend to substantiate from my own thinking that if something is not done, if New Delhi, there's no change of heart in New Delhi and it walks the course that it is, another crisis is just around the corner, albeit with very dangerous consequences. And I hope the international community also understands this, because the kind of conflict that can happen between India and Pakistan will not remain only to this, the effects will not remain only to this part of the world. So it is a shared responsibility for everybody to have a very close look at how the situation is panning out at the moment. The writer says it all. I'm just trying to take some things out of it. The writer says it all. However, his yearnings for peace, like all of us, are also quite palpable. And however the situation, whatever the situation is, it may look very bleak at this moment, but the efforts must never cease for attaining lasting peace. For that is the ultimate goal, but not from a position of weakness, and not even from a position of strength, from a position of large-heartedness. I would recommend this book as an essential reading for young diplomats, civil servants, students and practitioners of national security and statecraft, and most certainly for the budding political leadership of our great country. In the end, I would once again like to thank Aizaz Bhai for this great contribution. And although a lot has been written about India-Pakistan relations, a lot has been written about Kashmir, but this is one very, very comprehensive, insightful, and a very good addition to it. Thank you so much.